Hi guys, welcome to Little Wicket Railway. I'm Rob, and in this video we're taking a look at the 21-pin digital decoder and how to fit it in a Bachmann 3F. This was the first time I'd ever used a 21-pin decoder, but I assumed it would be pretty similar to the Next 18 decoder, a pretty simple install and a very quick video. Since I was installing it in a Bachmann model, I thought I'd buy the Bachmann branded decoder, and my logic there was that a decoder from the same manufacturer as the model would probably be optimised for that locomotive. However, as you'll see, the install went really smoothly, but I was left with a model that ran really badly. And this was a model that had previously run really smoothly on Analogue. As you'll see, I tried the decoder on my Hornby Select controller and also using my DCC++ system using JMRI, and I had the same results, so it wasn't anything to do with the controller. I tried resetting the decoder and playing around with the configuration variables, the CV settings, to improve performance, but with limited success. So I stopped filming and bought another 21-pin decoder, this time from Lais DCC. I would call these budget decoders. The Bachmann version cost just under £20 and the Lais DCC version cost just under £10. I've used other types of Lais DCC decoders before, and mostly with positive results. I've found them to have a lot more options for configuration for things like speed control than, say, an equivalent version from Hornby. So a bit of a spoiler, after installing the Lais DCC decoder, I got smooth running back in the 3F, which was a relief. So in this video, I'll show you how the 3F ran on Analogue, how it ran with the Bachmann decoder, and then how it ran on the Lais DCC decoder. I thought this might be useful just in case other people are experiencing similar kind of performance issues. I'll put the link to the Lais DCC and the Bachmann decoders in the description below. If you've got any experiences of using 21-pin decoders, positive or negative, especially keen to hear about the Bachmann 21-pin decoder, then please let me know in the comments below. If you're finding these videos useful, then please give me a like and a subscribe, and here's the video.
Okay, so I've got my instructions here. So these will tell me where the decoder socket is and what type of decoder I need and how to remove the body, which is often the hardest part. I've got my loco, the Bachmann 3F with the Johnson tender from my last review. I've got my 21-pin decoder, more on that later. I've got my little screwdriver. And finally, I've got my rolling road and the Hornby Select so that we can test it all works later. Before we install the decoder, it's always worth checking that the model is mechanically okay by running it on Analogue first. So I've got the basic Hornby controller here and we'll just give it a test run. I've already had this going for a bit to run in the motor, and we can see that it will pull away slowly, build speed, and then can go down into a crawl. So this is the level of performance we should also expect from digital. Let's take a look at the decoder we're going to install. It's Bachmann reference 36-557 and the recommended retail price is £21.95, but you can get these for a lot less than that. Under £18 is reasonable. That's a pretty standard price for a decoder, especially one from the loco manufacturer. There are other brands out there. Lais DCC make a 21-pin decoder for less than £10, but I've not tried it. I've had mixed results using cheaper decoders in the past, especially at low speed control. At some point I will do a video comparing the different types of decoders and their functionality, but I want to try out a few more types before making that. So a quick look at the spec of this Bachmann version. It supports 14, 28 and 128 speed steps. I won't go into speed steps now, but the more speed steps, the finer the control over the speed of the loco. Supporting all three is saying it has maximum compatibility for the different control systems, and the point further down says that it will automatically detect which speed step selection is being used by the digital command and control system, so that's good. It will accept long and short loco addresses. The decoder has the ability to be controlled under Analogue as well. But you can turn this off. I've never had a reason to turn Analogue control off, but it's good to know that you can if you need to. Other key points are that it can handle 0.9 amps of continuous load, which is a lot for a single loco, and it has some overload protection, which is good, and it has back EMF, which is deselectable. So back EMF is a really clever system that provides feedback to your controller that can be used to maintain loco speed when it's going up and down a gradient or around a curve, and the controller will know whether to give it slightly more or less power to maintain the speed that you want it to be at. It's good that it's deselectable because sometimes back EMF can cause some odd behaviour, so occasionally it's necessary to disable it. It is a 4-function decoder, so you could decide to put in 4 separately operated lights, for example, but 4 functions is a bit overkill for this locomotive because it doesn't have any functions. Just like the Bachmann Next 18 decoder, it's pretty neat and compact, which I like, and hopefully it should be just as easy to install. Right, let's get the body off and find the socket. So the instructions tell me that the socket is in the tender, and to remove the body from the tender, I have just got to find these 2 screws at the rear of the locomotive. So let's give this a go. Put those to one side. And I haven't really been looking forward to this because the loco is so delicate and with so many fine bits of detail. So I'm going to try and be very, very gentle. So we need to take our screwdriver, and the screws are one in there and one in there. So we'll see whether we can get these out. The tender and the loco are connected with wires on this version, so if you're wondering why I'm holding the engine as well as the tender, that's why. It's not possible to separate the two, which would make this a lot easier. So I think I've managed to get one screw out. And I think that is the second screw, so let's see whether we can tip those out. There's one, there's the other. So we'll put those next to our screwdriver, and hopefully the body should now just lift away. So it's lifting up at the back. And there we go. So it's quite heavy because this actually has some weight in it, apparently. So there is our decoder socket. So this is just a blanking plug, and this is in place of a decoder at the moment, and this is what it allows. This is what allows it to run on analog. So we're going to remove this, and this is what we're going to replace with the decoder. So I'll drop it back down. Now it looks like the electronics on here are exposed, so I'm just going to go away and touch a radiator or anything grounded so that any static charge that I've got is going to be dissipated before I go anywhere near the decoder or the electronics on the locomotive. Okay, we're back. So the first thing to do is remove this. So that's the blanking plate. As I say, if you were going to resell this and you didn't want to leave the decoder in there, it's worth keeping hold of that because you can drop it back in and then the loco would run fine on an analog layout. So we'll put that to one side and keep it safe. And now to our decoder. So I think if we just... There we go. And I don't think it's possible to put this in the wrong way round because if you look, there is an odd number of pins and one of the pins is missing from the lower left corner. So I think we can just slot that on top. So I think that is now on. Let's try and get this to focus. That looks like there is no gap between the decoder and the socket there. But just to double check, we'll put this on the rolling road before we put the body back on to make sure it's all working, because it can be a nightmare if you find out it's not working and then have to remove the body again. Okay, Hornby Select set to default 3. Let's turn this on and give it a go. So into life there, and ooh, that's not very good. Looks to be a little bit stuttery. Let's turn it up again. Still not incredibly smooth. Let's just give it a bit more power and see what happens. Not a huge amount of difference. Let's turn it down again and see whether we can get it to... It sort of jumps straight on. it goes from off to on quite quickly. So if we just turn it on, it jumps on and then jumps off again. There's not much of a build-up in speed there. So I'll probably try this on the DCC++ system and see whether I can get some better performance out of it and maybe play with some CV settings. So as you can see, if anything, it's slightly worse on the DCC++ system. At this low level, it should be running nice and slowly. I'm going to go away, reset the decoder to see if that helps, and if not, I'll play around with the acceleration, the deceleration, the back EMF and the speed table to see if we can improve things. So resetting it didn't make any difference, and I've just spent the last couple of hours trying different combinations of settings. This is about the best I can get it, and I'm still not very happy. It jumps from stationary to 10 miles an hour without any acceleration, and I'm going to order a different brand of decoder to see if that works, and we'll have to pick this up later. So almost a month later, the Lais DCC decoder has arrived. Let's get it in and give it a go. It fits in exactly the same way. The main differences are that it's a bit smaller and it's wrapped in plastic to keep the components safe. So I'm using the same Hornby Select controller. Let's give this a go. And already this looks much smoother. There was actually some acceleration there, which was a good start. And there doesn't appear to be any juddering. So yeah, I'm fairly pleased with that. Let's turn it up all the way. Okay, yes, still seems to be working very well. And decelerate quickly. And it's decelerated into a nice slow crawl, and this is how slow we can get it to go. So straight out the packet, the Lais DCC decoder seems to work much better. Maybe I've got a dodgy Bachmann decoder, or maybe it's not suited to this particular model, which is odd because it's a Bachmann model, but either way, I've got smooth running back in my 3F.
So there we go. And in the interest of fairness, I should just say I had a very similar problem, but the other way round, when I was installing the Next 18 decoder in my Bachmann Webb Coal Tank. The Lais DCC Next 18 decoder gave really poor slow speed running, and on that occasion the Bachmann version worked perfectly. So a few things I've taken away from this. Firstly, the positive. The 21-pin decoder is really neat and compact, and it's very easy to fit. Secondly, sometimes no matter what you change in CV settings, you may not be able to get good performance from a decoder. I spent over 3 hours changing every imaginable setting and still couldn't get satisfactory performance. Thirdly, if one brand of decoder isn't giving you the performance you want, try a different brand. You might get very different results. And finally, a more expensive decoder doesn't necessarily mean a better decoder for that model. The Bachmann decoder was twice as expensive as the Lais DCC version. If you found that video useful, then please give me a like and a subscribe. If you want to see the Bachmann 3F running around Little Wicket, then I'll put a link to the full review I did up here. Thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you again soon.